guys, welcome to another video from me, Sarah, your friendly online personal trainer and health coach. Today I'm going to take you through my full push-pull legs program that I ran as a 6-day split. So 6 days on, 1 day off, but you can choose to run this as a 3-day on, 1 day off. You can tweak it to be more strength dominant, more hypertrophy dominant, or you can even choose to use it to create a body recomposition of your own. This is literally just how I ran things. It is tailored to my needs, so higher in volume around the upper body, less so in the lower body, as that is where I naturally gain muscle. And as always, if you have any questions about it, please feel free to comment down below, and there are the full programs put in this so that you can literally take a screenshot, or you can hit me up on my Instagram, and that's linked down below, but I'll tell you more about it after I run you through this workout. So without further ado, let's get started.
So as I said, guys, I always start with my push session. Now, in the program, you're going to notice that there are 2 lots of rep ranges, though the sets are the same. And this is just because I run 2 separate splits, one more focused on strength, the other hypertrophy, just to give my body a rest. Alright, so the first movement is bench press. And you would have seen me in the footage lining up my hands and making sure I'm picking up the bar with an even distribution of the weight. And that means that I can bench while keeping that bar nice and flat. Also got a good arch in my back. And I'm bringing that bar down to touch my chest in a controlled manner before pushing actually sort of up and backwards, not just directly up in a straight line. And that allows me to actually be a lot stronger and engage a lot more of my pectoralis major, the chest muscle. Then I moved on to a dumbbell incline press, and here I'm making sure I have a good firm hold on the dumbbells a little bit higher up rather than in the middle. Before kicking back and making sure again I have that arch in my back so that my shoulder blades are retracted and stuck against that bench, not coming off or rounding, which can cause shoulder pain and shoulder injury. Also making sure I'm not touching the dumbbells together right at the top, and I'm only bringing my elbows to be level with my shoulder, and that's just based on my form and my current injury when I was shooting this footage. But for a further range of motion and further stretch, you'd want to bring it down to actually touch the dumbbell to your shoulder. The next movement is our first full shoulder movement, and I chose the upright row to really isolate that lateral head, so the one coming right off the side that gives you the nice capped look. Here I'm making sure my hands are pretty far apart, actually outside shoulder width, and I'm only bringing my elbows up to shoulder height. And this is to avoid impingement and pain throughout the movement, as going above this can result in pain, injury, and impingement. Alright, so the next movement was a machine movement, and this is the isolateral chest by Hammer Strength. If you've got something similar, then you can use that in your gym, but here I'm really wanting to target my upper chest a bit more, and by using this machine on that slight incline, I can safely put my body through that motion and challenge those muscle fibers, as that is a weak point of mine. In my bench, because of my arch, I actually have more of a decline type of press, so just the way in the direction of the muscle fibers, I'm hitting the lower portion and middle portion of my pec more than the upper portion. So here I'm wanting to really target and isolate that further than just the dumbbell press. Also guys, if you don't write down your training programs, the numbers you hit, the reps you get, and what you feel in it, I strongly encourage you do, as this allows you to progress really well from week to week. Next movement is the seated shoulder press, and here I'm really focusing on keeping my core tight and staying stable, as I'm not resting against anything. And I'm also not fully extending my elbow, as I'm wanting to limit my tricep involvement and only really hit my deltoids and traps for this exercise. The next movement is then actually a drop set of a lateral raise, and for the next 3 they are drop sets. And the way I run my drop sets is that I do 5 sets, so 5 different weights, but they're all for 10 reps. So I do 10 reps at the first weight, so for these dumbbells, drop to the next kilo, get the next weight, 10 reps, get the next weight, 10 reps, until I've done 5 sets of this. And after 5 sets, I'm pretty much to failure. So I choose not to run my drop sets all the way to failure. Another way, if you're not confident with drop sets, is using the cable machine. So here I'm doing a tricep push down, and again, running the drop set. Now, if you haven't used drop sets before, I highly recommend you use a cable machine, as this allows you to be a little bit safer in the movement, and you can actually go to failure or accidentally go to failure, and that way you'll find where that threshold is for you and you're less likely to cause an injury. You can also alternatively use a machine like I am here in my pec fly, again doing another drop set, and this will also allow you to push yourself to that extra intensity, and it does it in a safe manner. So if you're ever going to use drop sets, I highly recommend that you do it with cables or machines. Only the very, very experienced and advanced should really do this with a compound movement. Okay, so next session is the pull. And again, there are different rep ranges for the days of training. First movement is the most compound, most challenging movement that I find, which is the chin-up or pull-up, depending on the day. And I strongly recommend between the pull-up and the next exercise of a bent-over row, you select whichever one you find most challenging. So for me, that's with my lats being the weakest, so I do the pull-up. But if the bent-over row is more challenging for you to get into this bent-over position with a neutral spine, then definitely do this first, as it's going to challenge your central nervous system that little bit more. Now, if you are going to make these changes, I definitely want you to recognize that you have two types of pulling and pressing motions, and you have vertical or horizontal. So a pull-up is a vertical pull, you're literally pulling vertically, whereas a bent over row is a horizontal row, because if you were to stand, then you're pulling horizontally towards your body. So if you're going to swap out any of these movements, make sure that if you're swapping with something similar, you don't need to change the exercise order, but if you're swapping the exercise order around, to continue to do this so that you're alternating vertical and horizontal pulls, just to give your muscles that little bit of a different stimulus and rest accordingly. Okay, so going back to the footage and making reference to this again, you can see that I'm doing something similar that I did with the bench day, and that is doing fairly complex and my major compound movements to begin in the workout, and then moving to still compound exercises, but utilizing machines and cables to allow me to hit those muscles in a different way and also in a safer manner as my muscles get more fatigued throughout the workout. So before was a lat pull, a seated row, which I use the isolateral row, and here I'm doing a cable pullover. Now, throughout the whole pullover movement, you want to keep a neutral spine and really focus on letting those arms come up, stretch the lats before pulling them all the way back so your elbows are close to your hips. Next is another cable movement, which is the face pull. Now, you can use this with the rope, but I just happen to use two handles. Here, you want to make sure you have a nice firm base, and again, you have that neutral spine, so you're tensing your core, and we're really focusing on pulling those elbows sort of high and back to activate the rear delt, the rhomboids, and the mid traps. And this way we're really strengthening our posterior chain and looking at that overall shoulder health, as we have so many pressing movements in our push day. And while we're doing a lot of pulling movements, this really targets those smaller muscles. Then, as you know, I can't do a complete workout without a drop set. So this is a drop set barbell bicep curl. And I'm really focusing on trying not to swing. And if I do, you can see I'm leaning forward to start with, so that if I at all lean back, I'm actually only coming up too straight. I'm not really giving an overemphasis of momentum with that swing. Then moving on to legs, again, different rep ranges as standard, but it is a shorter session. So I started with squats, and this is again a compound movement that is of a high risk if you're going to challenge yourself, especially with strength. So I would highly recommend going with squats before deadlifts, but if you're wanting to see more progress with your deadlift or make that a focus of your session, then absolutely change that out and put it first. With my squats, I'm really making sure I'm tensing that core, pushing my knees out as wide as possible, and then sitting down into it. So all of these reps are controlled. They're not being dropped into, which a lot of people do. They'll drop in really fast, catch themselves in the hold, and then it's sort of a 50-50 on whether they'll come back up again. So to play it safe, and as this is a hypertrophy session that I am recording here, it is a lot more of a controlled lift. Same with the deadlift. When you're deadlifting, whether you're doing sumo or conventional, if you're looking to gain strength, I would highly recommend resetting before each rep or at the end of each rep, so that you're not just touch and going like I'm here. And I'm doing this literally because I'm working in that hypertrophy rep range, so it's not as crucial to me to get that reset and to get that strength and explosive power from the start. In your deadlift, please also make sure that you're always keeping your shoulders above your hips, no matter what type of variation you're doing. Straight onto an isolation exercise now, and this is literally because I need less volume to grow my legs than I do for my upper body, as my legs are my strong point and also develop quite quickly compared to my other upper body muscles. So if you need more exercises for your lower body, feel free to throw those in before these isolation exercises, but otherwise you can get a great amount of growth with just these few exercises for the legs. So I started with my hamstrings because as they are a weaker muscle for me before moving on to leg extension. And literally these are both just working at building up and really burning out those muscles. On this day, I decided to superset them as well, just to be efficient with time. And because they are antagonistic muscles, so they're opposing, doing different functions, one's going to extend the knee, one is going to flex the knee, I find it really easy to be able to superset those. But again, if you're new to training, I would probably just focus on the one movement to begin with and then introduce supersetting if you need later on. Then I did a seated calf raise, and I do this so that my spine isn't overly taxed by doing standing, but also the soleus is about 70% of our calves, so the seated leg raise actually targets this more than the gastrocnemius. And by this I mean the soleus is the lower part that doesn't really seem like it's got any muscle on it, where the gastrocnemius is that ball type of muscle at the top of the calf. And again, coming down to a deficit and raising and really focusing on that control of reps.
So that is literally the entire workout, guys. If you do have any questions, please feel free to let me know in the comments down below, or you can hit me up on any of my socials. If you want an easy way to have this workout in your pocket, it is on my Instagram, so I'll link that as well. And if you are not following me, definitely start following me so that you get lots of workout tips, interesting workout ideas, and there's quite a few free programs that I put up. If I write out one for myself, I literally just pop it up. I won't pop up my clients' ones, but I put up any of my new programs so you can follow the exact training sessions that I am running, or you can choose to use any of my previous ones as inspiration. Now, if you did get anything out of this, please smash that thumbs up button. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.